Hi there and welcome once again to the Love Revolution Network. Earlier on, we got a comment from Oscar Masaiti 6039. So that's subscriber Oscar Masaiti 6039, and that was to our UK house tour video. So if you haven't watched that, just look for it under the videos section. Oscar said, "Nice place. Confirm how much are your rents for such an apartment?" I'm gonna do you one even better. So we've been meaning to actually put out a video where we talk about the general expenses or cost of living in the UK. So this is our cost of living video. Obviously, everything is situational. It depends on your situation. Maybe we have childcare and you don't. And it also depends on where you stay. So it's location based as well. And it's also preference based because some people, like myself, are a bit more frugal than other people are as well. So it really just depends. But then when you see the way that I do my budget at the same time, the budget in itself is not frugal. The budget in itself is more prudent, but it leaves a lot of room for there to be like retention of money at the end of the month, rather than coming up short by underestimating expenses as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. Our monthly budget looks like this. So when we look at our rent is our primary expense. That's £650. After rent, we've got council tax. Council tax, we're paying £130. So there is service delivery, but you pay a hefty fee for it. So we're paying council tax of £130. It's actually 122 or something like that, I believe, that we pay. But then what I do is I practice what's called the prudence concept of accounting. The prudence concept of accounting, we overestimate our expenses and we underestimate our income, and that's what we always do. So I know that if our take home is, let's say, 3 point something, I'm gonna put it down to like maybe 2.8, which is what we actually work with. We'll work with 2.8, though there's never been a month that we've made 2.8 collectively. But we do that so that we just fortify ourselves against any mishaps. I'm not working a permanent position. I'm working as a contract worker, as an agency worker. So if I don't go to work, I don't get paid. If I get sick, I don't get paid. So I'm making a provision for all of that. Or I could just have, JJ time. There could be a need that causes me to have to just tend to JJ, and I don't want to, come up short because I have some other engagements or family commitments that I have. I want to be flexible enough, so I would always rather underestimate my income. We also do have business interests in Zim that we've always had, but we don't account for any of those things as well. So rent, 650, council tax, 130, gas. Now gas, when we arrived when it was freezing. It was cold, I tell you. I calculated, when we're still in Zimbabwe, the generality of how much everything will cost us. We did the costing for family budget. We looked at salaries and everything, and I was pretty much spot on. The only thing that I missed by a long shot was gas. I wouldn't say electricity by much. I would say gas, because of the central heating. It was just terrible. It was really expensive. I know people that got bills from 500, 600, 700, 800 was the highest one that I heard. With us, generally, during that time, we were paying, I'm just looking at my budget on my laptop here. I put 150, but I think it came to something like that. So from the 150 during that time, during the winter season, there was like an allowance that was granted to every household from the government, just a scheme that kind of curbs or cushions the impact of cost of living and stuff like that. So it was like £67. So essentially that was deducted from your bill, from the £150. But I always just, I don't bank on it. So we just had £150 there. I keep it there, though right now, the gas bill is non-existent, because the weather is just favorable these days. Then we've got electricity. Electricity, I've got it on 100. It doesn't hit anywhere near that. So we've got a prepaid meter that we just top up. So we top up like, let's say £20. And it generally lasts us longer than a week. Like, I'm not too sure how long exactly. So it's nowhere near that, but I always just really inflate my expenses. Water bill, we've got 50 pounds. It's actually about £38, I think. Car insurance is £150. It's also about 125, 122, somewhere there, I don't remember. But I think, so the first car that we got was Tanya's car, and that was quoted at £85 by Admiral Insurance. And then my one was, when we got my one, we put it on her policy, but as a second car, and then it was £45. So it's actually cheaper just to put, to have a multi-car policy. So I'm the named driver on that. And on Tanya's policy, I'm also a secondary driver, and on my car, she's a secondary driver as well. So total, we're doing 120 something for that one, which apparently is really good, because I know people that are paying 100, 120. You know, when we've just come, we've got Zim licenses, we don't have much time in the country and on the roads and stuff like that. So our premiums are generally going to be a bit higher than, you know, everyone else around. That being said, if you are younger as well, they also consider you a higher risk as well. So it just depends. So if there's ever a moment where you need to be proud to be old, it's when it comes to car insurance. Then the next thing is road tax. So road tax, we are paying, I think it's 45. We've got it pegged at 50 on our monthly budget. Then broadband, for our Wi-Fi, we are paying, on budget, it's 25. I think we're actually paying 22. TV license, I've got that pegged at £15, but though we're not paying anything at the moment, we don't watch live TV, like never have, never will really. The truth of it is that you're not, even if you look it up, you're not obliged to pay if you don't watch live TV. But I know some people that end up paying because, you know, they do end up at some point start following up and trying to put pressure on you and so forth. So I've just got that as a provision, but legally speaking, you don't have to pay it if you don't watch live TV. Cell phones. So for cell phones, I put £10. Let's say if you're a couple, let's just put £20. So let me just switch that out and put £20. But for us in reality, we're paying £70 because we got some new handsets because we had to upgrade our phones when we came. But then if you're just doing your general packages, like I know if you're coming from Zim, the free SIM card that you get, it's like £10 a month for quite a good package. And that should be enough just to get you online, because you don't use much of your data when you're away from the house, and when you're home, you've got the Wi-Fi. Groceries. So groceries is going to differ person to person, family to family, and so forth. But we've got it pegged at 200. It's a plus or minus type of situation. It really just depends, to be honest. Generally, I would say it's a little south of that. It's never really north of that 200. 150 is sufficient. Sometimes you just run out of food and then you get home and you're like, there's no food anymore between the busy schedules and stuff. So you then just have to do takeaway, which is not included in our groceries. We'll get to that, but I've got like money that we put aside for miscellaneous expenses. So it covers like pretty much the random things that are just unaccounted for. Then we've got fuel. And fuel, we've got it pretty bad here because we pegged it at 300. We don't use that much, to be honest. But the reason why we've got it so high is because these days, Tanya has negotiated with her employer. So she is coming home a bit more than she usually does. And that's, you know, driving from Leicester to Kobe, which is a bit of a drive. And to be fair, at the same time, situation is still not perfect because it's not like she comes home and then she's now home and she spends more time with her family, really. Because essentially she's gonna get here maybe at like 9 o'clock, and at 20 past, I'm out the door going for my night shift. So she's essentially coming so that it just helps out with childcare, and it's much easier, and JJ doesn't have to just move around as much as he did back then. It definitely is a little less than, probably a lot less. I'm not too sure how much exactly because it fluctuates from month to month, but it is significantly less than that. And I work locally, so I don't use much fuel at all, unless I'm serving our business interests, which is covered by the business then, I guess. Then we have car service or MOT. So what we do with Tanya is that we put aside £150 every single month towards car service or MOT. So MOT, I think it stands for Ministry of Transport, but it's essentially your the roadworthiness of your vehicle. So it just tests the fitness of your vehicle, and this is done every year, so it's annually. You go for this MOT test, and if it doesn't pass, it has to get certain things on it, whatever the MOT test picks up, and they have to get fixed until it gets the pass. Then it's allowed to be on the road again. We put £150 as a contribution towards not only just MOT, but just in case, during the course of time, at some point our cars just, or one of the cars just break down and we have a problem and we need to kind of resolve it. So we put a bit of money aside, and Tanya had an MOT test yesterday, and there wasn't really much that needed to be done. So there was a little bit of retention there, which then ends up, helping us with other things as well. We've got childcare for £50. This just accounts for if any of the days of the month we need to take JJ for breakfast club, for after school club, because of schedules and stuff. Like yesterday we had the MOT test, so that was the first time that he went to breakfast club ever. And to be fair, since we've come from Zim, he's only been to after school club, I think only 1 week that I was training. Like at my current job now, I was training on day shift, but now I'm working night shift. Miscellaneous, I've got £100 for miscellaneous. Those are just your random expenses. It speaks for itself, doesn't it? School related, £50. So school related is like if there's a school trip, if there's Mufti Day, whatever other expenses can just spring up because of school. It could be he needs shoes for school, it could be uniform, it could be anything that's basically just school related. The last thing, and the new addition to the family of expenses, is Amazon Prime account. So yeah, so that one, they got me good, because I'm like one of those people that don't like just subscribing to things. I find it pointless. But with this one, like what they do is that they say a free trial for 7 days, and then after that you then pay this much, and then you think, oh okay, I'll do it, and then it says you can cancel it anytime, and then you do it and you cancel it and you don't pay anything. Then another time they offer you the same deal, you do it, you cancel it again. At some point you're gonna forget to cancel it, then you see it going off and you're like, you know what, it's been fun, watching Amazon Prime and stuff like that. Though I don't watch TV at all, like literally me and Tanya don't watch TV. I think it's just for JJ. But then the thing is, it puts a smile on JJ's face, and besides, without it, he would be pretty much bored, because we sit down, we talk about educational programs, and he knows what he's supposed to watch and stuff like that, and I make sure I monitor so that he watches. There's so much that children can actually learn from watching TV, so that's my campaign for why I've got that account. So this totals at 2,190. So at 2,190, that's the upper end of the budget. But realistically speaking, it's not even anywhere close to 2,190. It's way less than that. But you see, what it does is that, for instance, I've got a brother that stays in London. If we, like now the holidays are coming up and we're going to visit, JJ wants to go and see his baby cousin sister, and those are expenses that then, can be curbed by having expenses or a budget that's actually inflated. rather than more on the realistic side. So it allows you to be a bit fluid in terms of your lifestyle and stuff as well. You have some great months where you've got a lot of retention, then you've got some months which you have no retention because maybe it's the holiday, so it's not, your spending is not going to be the same as any other given time. Now, in terms of salaries and stuff like that, it's going to differ because I'm talking to doctors, I'm talking to lawyers, I'm talking to people from all walks of life, essentially. But if you're just talking about, you know, your basic jobs here and stuff like that, you are essentially going to be taking home, you know, like non-skilled labor, sort of. You're essentially going to be taking home, let's say, 1.4 to 2,000 without overtime, let's say, to 2,000-ish, 2,200, depending on the type of job that you have. That's what you are generally going to be taking. So now if it's a double income home, you can then just times that by 2. So what we do, we work with the lower end of the spectrum, and we pretend that I get 1.4 and she gets and Tanya gets 1.4. We times that by 2 and we say that household income is 2.8. So if it was 2.8 and the 2,190 or 2.2, let's say, was the deductible, that leaves 600 to be retained. But like I said, this is just a safety net. What it allows us to do is that if I get paid 1.8 or if I get paid 2,000, it accounts for a day that I say, you know what, like, which happened quite recently, like yesterday. So, no, it was the day before yesterday. So, I mean, Tanya can come home and then I'm like walking out and then I'm like, no. I want to spend the day or the night with my wife. I'm not going to work. So you want to be able to kind of be a bit more fluid like that. So that is the end of the presentation of UK cost of living.